Hey everybody, welcome to the Plant Strong Cycling Podcast, dedicated to connecting cyclists in Northeast Arkansas and hopefully motivating you to be a happier cyclist. Today we have special guest Shawn McKinney. In today's episode, Shawn and I talk about something I didn't expect, which is getting support from your wife, as well as his weather prediction for Unbound and a lot of tips and tricks to surviving the race. Shawn is scheduled to finish his 5th Unbound this year, so here we go. Hey Shawn, thanks for taking my call today. So this is Shawn McKinney. You're in Little Rock. Maumelle. How far is that from Little Rock?
10 miles.
I think I see a lot of your stuff on Strava in Little Rock.
Yeah, I mean, I ride from home, usually. That's kind of a thing. So, but yeah, I'm usually going through Little Rock. That's the best routes, usually go that way.
The first time I remember really having a deep conversation with you was at an Unbound pre-ride. Was it the burrito ride last year, that Friday morning?
Was it the burrito ride? Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and man, we had so much fun, and we were going to just smash everybody at the end, but we didn't for some reason. I can't remember why. But I will say that I often think about that ride because if it hadn't been for seeing how the ending was going to go and how much fun like group riding was going to be, I wouldn't have been successful Saturday night the way I needed it to be. So, or Sunday morning whenever it was wrapping up. So anyways, I have very fond memories of how important that pre-ride was, and I'm glad I got to spend it with you.
That was fun. And I do remember we were going to do that breakaway and it never happened. So maybe this year.
Hey, well, I don't know if I should pre-ride this year because my race starts on Friday. And I'm kind of sad because I'm actually going to be cutting my time short during the expo.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't do a group ride on Friday if I were you.
Yeah.
Maybe Thursday if you're going to be there. They'll have group rides then too. But,
I am. Are you getting there Thursday?
I'm actually thinking about a week early and riding some of the route, doing some recon. But for sure, I'll be there by Tuesday.
Okay.
And that's kind of a thing for me. I've learned to do that because I made the mistake one year of waiting to the last minute to get there and it didn't go well. David
Guth, a good friend of yours, told me to ask you this question. Okay. He said, if anybody's going to know, it's going to be you. And this is the heads up I want. What's the weather going to be like?
Oh, well, David says I'll know that.
He said every year you nail it.
Interesting. I think because this will be is this my eighth time doing the 200 or something like that. And it's been different every time, Phil. Having said that, it feels to me in my bones like it's a wet year. So just looking at what's been going on leading up to like today and what I can see in the extended forecast, it's wet. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't kind of like it's been the last couple of years, right? So 22 was quite a bit of rain, right, in the middle of it. You weren't there, but there was. And then, of course, last year we got soaked. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was more of that.
Well, I'm going to switch my race down to the 50 then, if that's going to be the case.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong, especially for you, Bill, because I know what those XLers went through last year, and there was some. I don't know if you saw any of the podcasts on YouTube that documented that journey that some of them had. A lot of hike a bike, but this is a different route, a different year, so we'll see.
So last year, I was halfway through when the rain came, but right before it came, it was so hot, and the wind was just a massive headwind. It would have been tough to finish the race if my next 100 miles consisted of that same conditions, and so that kind of scares me to think about, like being back in the same situation.
That's it exactly. I mean, you can get on these DK courses Unbound courses, because they are big loops usually. If you get on the wrong, if you get an unfavorable wind, then you can have literally half your ride can be into the wind. And that's happened more than once in the times I've done it. that's obviously a factor in finishing, and a lot of people will struggle with that for obvious reasons.
Let me hop into let me switch gears just a little bit here. You and I also rode last March, the event Bobby put on over in Sandtown, and I had to leave early that day. And so my wife called and she's like, "Hey, we're kind of bored. We're wanting to go to Jonesboro. When are you getting home?" And where my wife and I are now, we're doing really well. Like, our marriage is ripping, but she still does not give a crap about bicycles. We were in a little bit of a rough patch when Unbound happened, and she texted me on that Friday, I think, or called and said, "So what time are you getting home tomorrow?" And I was like, "I'm getting home Sunday night is my plan." And she's like, "Oh, I thought the race was tomorrow and then you were going to come home." I'm like, "Well, it's going to be a long race." And so I got permission this year to do the 350 to start on the Friday, and she knows I'm getting home on Sunday, leaving on Thursday. So we're all good. This time a year ago, we had some personal stuff going on, professional stuff going on, all that. But this year we're in good shape. Am I the only one who and I can share all this because she's not going to listen to the podcast because, like I said, we have a ripping marriage, but she's just not interested in my cycling life, and I'm okay with that. How do you navigate that? Is your family supportive of all this? Like, are you gone too much?
Well, I'm a little bit older, so my wife and I are, we're getting up there. I mean, I turned 60 on my last birthday, and she's catching up with me. And so, our kids they've been out of the house now for 10 years. Cycling came, and it gets into the arc of cycling in my life, but, and it's ebbed and flowed. The last 10 years, it's certainly been on a high water mark, to say the least. And, but that's coincided with, what happens when you're empty nesters. Couples become empty nesters, and then you suddenly find all this time that you have that you didn't have before. And so that's part of it, is that the timing for us was good. And in fact, Cindy's my wife, has been really my biggest supporter, and always has really just unyielding support of this passion of mine. I think there's a number of reasons for that. 10, 11, 12 years ago, when I was just starting to get back into this cycling thing, she bought me a road bike, and it was my first road bike since college. I think it was for our anniversary. And that was the kindling that really started that fire that, got me into riding long distances. And so I guess I can lay the blame at her feet too, Bill, but also I try to obviously keep her in it as much as I can. And so, she's got a road bike, and she's also got, this little e-scooter that she can meet me out on the trail with. And so we definitely try to make it work for both of us. And so, and some of these events can be in cool places. Like one year I did Coast to Coast up in Michigan, and she met me up there, and we had a wonderful time hanging out up there in Michigan in midsummer. And so, she's part of the dream, I think. And for me, the ultimate dream is I'd like to buy one of those Sprinter vans or something, and she and I go on the road for weeks at a time in the summer and do, I don't know if there's a name for it. Is it bicycle tourism or something? But travel around and ride bikes and, that kind of thing. So I don't know that she's on board with that part of it yet. I'm still working on her on that, but I'm hopeful. But no, the short answer, Bill, is she's been supportive. All of our kids, we have 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, and they're supportive of it. I think they think Dad's a little crazy. Yeah. Pretty sure that's sort of what they whisper, but they certainly give me all their backing. So yeah, I am very lucky in that regard for sure. And I don't know without that, I don't think I It's not even a thing. There's no way I'd be able to be doing the things that I'm doing without my wife's support. Impossible.
Yeah.
So she's really like on the team. So yeah, that's a big one.
We've had some life adjustments recently that have been positive for her with her new job, new career path, all those things. And so we actually got her fitted for a bike in Memphis last week, and I think we're going to pull the trigger.
Awesome.
She's a little hesitant because it's such a big investment, and she's not sure if she's going to love it. But she bike packed across Europe for like 2 months or a month when she was in college on like on a mission trip. And so she has the skill set. She knows what it takes. She was a runner during college and after, but the endurance side, I think, like spending the entire day on the bicycle is like a foreign concept of why would that be fun? Whereas I'm like, I want to see how long I can ride the bike total. But I will say that last year when she sent me that message, that probably messed with my head game more than anything.
I bet.
And so I was like, I have a little one at home. Should I feel guilty for spending one weekend completely away, doing my own thing, riding the bike? And with everything we have going on now, I do see like the progression of, hey, I'm okay with this now. I see the value in it. And hey, this actually sounds like fun. Maybe I want to buy a bike. And our daughter's starting to ride a little bit, and she's enjoying it. She likes playing with her friends on the trampoline more. But we are getting there. And I think if I didn't have that this year, there is no way I'd be doing Unbound. If we were where we were last year, it would have been I need to choose my family and marriage over doing this race. Because, I mean, you know what training's like to get ready for this. Like it's crazy, and that's where I'm at mentally this year. I feel more supported.
I like that. I like that she's going to get a bike, and I think that there's options too. Like with and it certainly doesn't sound like she needs it, but like in other families, where maybe one of them has an e-bike, and they can ride an e-bike and go along on these rides on distances that they wouldn't otherwise be able to go, but. The last thing I'll say on this topic, and this is a great topic, actually, I think it's worth expanding because it goes into, a healthy lifestyle. And as, modern families, we're so time crunched and so time stressed and really forced into these unhealthy living situations of high stress, poorly executed nutrition plans and things like that put us on a lifetime journey of bad health. And the fact that, you have this young family that is really when, they need your time the most, but also they need you down the road too, so there's these competing sort of things between, now what they need of you now and what they're going to need from you in 20 years. And if you continue on the path that you're on of doing these endurance events and staying healthy and training hard, then I can, and my belief is that you'll be a much healthier person as you progress. And so that's going to ultimately do them more good than anything, is having you around and having you healthy down the road. That's the way I look at it. And, but yeah, I understand the dilemma that you're in. And I found that problem when our kids were young. I can remember having those very same problems. And that's one of the reasons why I wasn't able to do the things, back then when the kids were really young, because I felt guilty about it. I felt guilty about doing anything where they weren't spending time with me as well, so.
Yeah,
it's definitely a tightrope that you got to walk there, but it sounds like you're managing it just fine. By
God's grace, that's I feel like I am now. This is where like I'm I'm probably coming across at this point as like you're my therapist, and I'm just trying to get all my feelings out, and this is a free way to do it. But
Yeah.
this is the one big event I do every year, and it's because the other ones conflict massively with either my wife's birthday or the start back of school, which my job is, high intensity during those few weeks. So this is like the one big event that works out with our calendar really well.
Uh-huh.
And after this year, if I cross that finish line, I'm going to feel released from the the goal or the desire to say I've got to go do something impossible, and Unbound is the best avenue for that. I think that maybe next year there will be a different type of stupidly impossible ride that I would want to explore that could fit better with everybody's schedule and be a little different. So and that's if I cross the finish line, though. So that's my goal. If I can get there, then I can plan for something else. All right, let's shift gears. You have seen how many Unbounds? How many times have you ridden the Dirty Kansas Unbound?
I think this will be my 8th.
And you had a couple DNFs. I'll delete that.
I've had 2 DNFs. Yeah.
Or I can delete that if you need me to. But you're going.
Actually, this will be my 7th, Bill. This will be my 7th. I've finished 4 times. I've DNF'd twice. I had to defer 1 year, which I think that's why I'm getting them mixed up on the number of times. 1 year was a deferral.
Gotcha.
And then yeah, this will be the 7th attempt.
Well, so when you cross the finish line this year, that'll make 1,000 miles.
Correct.
And you'll get a goblet trophy?
Yeah, is that what they call it? It's some big old, glass or like a big old beer mug thing.
How excited are you?
That's a Dan Hughes. Have you heard of Dan Hughes? He's a prominent individual. He's from Lawrence, Kansas, and he's the owner of Sunflower Outdoor, the cycling and outdoor shop. A really nice shop on Massachusetts Street in Lawrence, which is downtown. And Dan's been a long time crazy cyclist, endurance guy. He's won Unbound twice, I think, or something. But he's also in the Gravel Cycling Hall of Fame. Really good, funny guy. Anyway, Dan is who started that tradition of I think he's actually the one who buys the awards. Has them made, and but he's certainly the one who hands them out. And so Sunday morning when they during the the closing ceremony, they'll call anyone who's a 5-time finisher of the 200. They call them up on stage and they hand them that goblet thing.
Wow.
And so yeah, that's a cool thing. David obviously is getting he's going to get his this year. There's another Arkansan who's in our circle, Jed Spencer. Do you know Jed?
I know of him.
Jed's also going to be a number 5 this year.
Nice.
And the 3 of us have been shooting for number 5 since 2020. We all 3 of us had 4 in 2019 after 2019, and then 2020 was a COVID year, and so obviously none of us got it then. And then 21, that was when bad things started happening, and Jed had some issues, and he's been out of it for a couple years, but he's coming back strong now. And then David, has documented on your podcast, has had some struggles, and then I've had my own struggles. So the 3 of us are gonna do it this year. And we used to call ourselves the Arkansas 3 or something like that, something cheesy like that. But and we had this grand vision of the 3 of us finishing together. Maybe that'll happen this year. But it's funny because, I got my first 4 in a row. 2016, 17, 18, and 19. Boom, 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 boom. And so I guess you kind of get to where you're like, oh yeah, you never say it's easy. I mean, you've been out there. You're never like, oh yeah, it's a given that I'm going to get another one or whatever. But you also, I guess, take it for granted a little bit. And, so yeah, here I am now, what are we, 5 years later after that last one. And I'm still trying to get the fifth. So it's definitely put a different, spin on it. But, I tell you, Bill, it's not so much the chalice that I'm going for as just the finish what you started kind of thing. You know, that somewhere in there you're like, I'm going to get 5, and by God, I'm going to get 5. You know, no matter what, I'm going to keep doing it, and so that's sort of what it is for me. It's like this stubborn, not going to give up till I get the fifth one. And, so, and so if this year, if I get number 5, I think I will be kind of like what you said. It'll be time to maybe start trying different things. My goal for something like Unbound going forward is I want to ride with my sons. I want to ride with my daughter. I want to ride with my brothers. I want to ride with my friends, and so whatever that looks like, if that's a 50-mile or 100-mile course, that's really what would be what I'd be going for.
Yeah, man. And I love that kind of goal. I got my buddy Nolan, who's wanting to do a century ride. And and he's barely ridden 20 miles like one time. And so I'm honestly super excited about a few things this summer. One is to see him do a century ride and help him get trained up for it. Obviously, I'm excited about my Unbound ride coming up. But dude, I'm going to text David when I'm an hour out from the finish line and say, where are you? Are you going to wait on me? Or vice versa. And dude, I'm so excited for you and David to cross the finish line. And Jed
would
too.
You just make that a thread and add me to it? So let's just have that. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Hey, this is a dumb question. My phone last year got covered in mud and dirt and wet, and then it died and then I had to clean it out to get it to charge again and to work. So my phone was probably off for like 6 hours, unbeknownst to me. What do you do to keep your phone alive and healthy during the race?
Okay. One is I'll turn off anything that I don't need. So if there's a Bluetooth, say to my watch, that I don't 100% need, or any kind of, like I'll probably turn, because my, any kind of outside connections to the phone, I'll turn off. And then, I also will carry, power supplies, and, cause it's not just the phone, you've got lights too, right, Bill? I mean, how are you going to keep power to the light source for what could be 2 nights?
Yeah. Old school, candlesticks. So no, I'm kidding. I bought 2, flashlights and a headlamp that I think are going to prove to be really helpful. So I think. Yeah,
for me, it's that's kind of how I do it. I have these little flashlight things that attach to my handlebars, and then so that I'll just have as many of those as I need. But for the phone, and possibly depending on what kind of GPS you have, you're gonna need a power supply, and those kind of suck because they're heavy. You got to lug them around. I've heard about people on the XL where they'll plug in at the Casey's One Stop or whatever. When they stop, they'll just plug in there for an hour here and 15 minutes there, and they can kind of keep a charge that way. And then just stay off of it is the other thing.
Yeah.
Just maybe even turn it off. If, halfway through, if you're Yeah, and like for you especially, you're going to be out there where coverage is probably not going to necessarily be a given. And phones, when they're in those sort of fringe areas, I think they burn more juice. Maybe just turn it off for a while.
Yep. And hopefully I'll be riding with some other people. So worst case scenario, their phone or my phone being off won't be catastrophic. So
I hope you do find someone to ride with. I think that's probably the single best thing that you can do that will improve your chances of success is to find one or two, three strong riders and team up with them out there.
Yeah. That worked out really well for me last year. And I found them at mile 80. The problem before that is that anybody I'd start riding with, they would either drop me and feel guilty, or I would drop them and feel guilty. And it's crazy how long it can take to find the right person to ride with.
Yep.
So
no, that's it exactly. I mean, it's we all have different sort of thresholds for pace and stuff, and that ebbs and flows. And so, yeah, you really have to. It just kind of happens organically, is what I've found. You'll just end up there's always that same person that's near you, and they'll pass you and you'll pass them, and then they'll pass you and you'll pass them. And then somewhere in there, start talking to them. And then next thing you know, you're riding together, but that's and then those will come and go, you'll have, especially a ride that long that you're on. What can that be? 35 hours that you could be out there?
Yeah, I hope not, but yeah, it could be. It probably will be.
Yeah. So, there was a guy, was it last year, that finished 8 hours later? He finished sometime around lunchtime the next morning, Sunday morning or.
Yeah. So I didn't hear exactly how long extra it took him, but I did hear of the person who was like, who cares when they say I have to be done? I'm going to finish this race. I'm not quitting.
I understand that. I mean, that's so you've got all that time out there, all that train, everything you put in it, and, just finish it. It doesn't have to be on time.
And that's where my mindset's going to be, is I'm not going to take a nap, at least unless I just absolutely have to. But, even if it's past the cutoff time, I want to ride 350 miles. I want to see if I can do it. I might be the 8 hour guy past the time this year. We'll find out.
If you're the 8 hour guy, Bill, I'm going to be at the finish line when you get across. Let me tell you, I'll be there. So,
if it's going to take me that long, I promise you, I will find a place to charge my phone to let every key player that I know at Unbound know. That way y'all can be there and cheer.
Yeah.
Welcome me back.
I in many ways, I think that's more impressive, that person that does that, because there's no accolades really with that. You're not doing that for ego. Because you're not even getting a finish,
Right.
But yet it's still, it says something about that individual. That that they have the perseverance and the to do that, and it's hard to understand what kind of suffering that is until you've been there.
Yeah, and this might be the addiction in me, but it's future me has to do it. So unless I have a mechanical that I cannot fix or have somebody else fix it while we're out there, that's kind of where I'm landing of no matter what, I've got to finish, short of doing something that would physically destroy me and
that's right,
affect my
that's
family.
Right. But, yep, that's where the line is, the physical and the mechanical.
Yeah, emotionally though, I'm willing to deal with some massive trauma if I need to. So, because it'll be invisible.
That's awesome,
I'm just kidding.
You're gonna have an awesome experience. It's gonna be something you'll never forget, and your kids are gonna know that you did it. Your daughter's gonna know about it, and it's something that they're gonna know about Dad. They're that, and it's also something that, and I've heard, like my little brother, he was the one who started me on back then we called it Dirty Kansas, but he did it in 14 and he finished in 14 hours. So he was one of the, he beat the sun.
Wow.
And, my dad was still around and he was there, and, it was a real emotional moment. But, he told me later, and he's never done it again since then. That was 14. So it's been now 10 years, but he told me a couple of years ago that anytime he's in a tough situation, no matter what it is, say he's out in the yard and he's trying to dig a rock out, or a pipe's busted, or whatever it is, he's like, damn it, I can ride 200 miles in the Flint Hills. I can fix this.
Heck yeah, man, dude. That's the right mindset. Yeah.
That's part of what you carry forward. It's something you get. It's not the cheap people, I think, maybe think it's the achievement, that the glass or the goblet or the mug or the whatever, or the T-shirt, that it's about that, or the high fives you get at the end. That's not it at all. It's what you carry with you going forward that can never be taken away. And, that's what we get out of it. That's the payoff.
Man, I couldn't agree more. And I just love so much that you said all that. That's, so good, dude. So this is, I'm going to continue. I'm seeing it as me being like patient with my life circumstances until my wife comes around into cycling, falls in love with it, joins me on the rides, all of that. So it feels selfish I feel selfish wanting to speed this up, but there's nothing I would want more than to cross the finish line and to have my wife and child there. Like, that would be the ultimate moment of, I did this incredibly tough thing, and now I get to share it with the people I love most. So
that sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah.
I'd say make that happen, and that will help her understand what it's about too. And and I just said a few minutes ago that finish line, it's not about the finish line, but that finish line is an amazing place. And the later it gets, the more amazing it gets. And you see these people that cross that, a lot of moms, raising kids, they're out there doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the finish line when a mom crossed for the XL last summer.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sorry, it was 2 summers ago when I was, when I deferred and I was at the finish line, and it was a incredibly emotional moment because of, as you know, all that work and that goes into that, and then it just comes to a head right then when you finish, and it's tears, or often lots of tears, and very emotional, inspiring thing, seeing these people achieve this objective, and how much it means to them. And so I think that with having your wife there, she would probably better understand what it is that drives you if she was there to see that. So I hope that you make that happen, Bill.
Yeah, me too, man. Who's your riding buddy in Maumelle or Little Rock?
Oh, who isn't my riding buddy? I'll ride with anybody. There's a group of trail runners. They call themselves the Crackheads. They ride a lot in the summer. I ride a lot with them. There's some guys from the bike shop my local bike shop, which is Arkansas Cycling and Fitness. Guys like Tommy Bell. And,
I like Tommy.
Frank, and those guys there are riding buddies, and sometimes I'll ride with folks that I just meet on the trail. I've met a lot of interesting characters over the years. And I guess the thing about riding, Bill, for me, another thing is it is kind of it brings back childlike emotions. And one of those
Yes.
childlike emotions is that concept of, hey, you're doing this, I'm doing this, let's be friends or something. You know, that's kind of, remember how it was when you were a kid, you know, where you could make friends with just on the spur of the moment like that. And I think cycling's very much like that. And I've certainly made many lifelong friends with people that I've just met out at you know, on the trail, literally just cross paths with them, start riding a bit, get talking, and then there's really no reason not to, right? You share the same goals, you team up, you're going to be stronger when you ride together, and then you have the enrichment of the friendship that brings. It's just winning all the way around. So
yeah. Well, hey, if you get a chance to ride with Shawn, I promise you will love hanging out with him, getting to know him, and you will be riding with one of the greats, in my opinion. So
thank you so much for that,
dude.
Bill. I appreciate that very much. It's good talking to you today.
Hey,
thanks for having me on your podcast. I've enjoyed what you've done so far, and best of luck. I hope you keep it going. I think it's great.
Hey, thanks, man. You're going to be our next guest, and then after that, we have another big hitter coming on. So I won't spill out the details, but
cool.
Shawn, thanks for chatting with me, man.